Hey everybody, Aaron Cowan, Sage Dynamics. This video we're taking a look at the primary weapon system's enhanced duty slide. So the primary weapon system's EDS, it's offered for Glock 17 or Glock 19 in Gen 3 currently. As you can see, just plainly looking at it, is it does give you front cocking serrations. Rear cocking serrations remain the same. The sides are chamfered. That reduction in radius is something a lot of people prefer. In fact, most of your aftermarket guns, when you send your gun off to have any kind of work done to it, they're just going to do that anyway unless you ask them not to. Some people believe it reduces the radius enough to allow easier manipulation. I can't say one way or another. I have pretty average size hands. So it's not an issue I've ever experienced with the stock Glock radius and angle there. But the forward serrations are nice for manipulations, and if you for clearing certain kinds of malfunctions, they do come in handy. They ship with your stock Glock sights, which nobody wants, or you're offered the Trijicon HDs with the U-notch rear. Those sights are pretty awesome. They're not exactly what I consider precision shot sights. They're more of like a speed sights or self-fit sights, or what do you want to call it. They do have a little bit more play in them than maybe you want, because obviously you could order this slide with the stock sights and swap those out. That wouldn't be a big deal. The biggest thing that the EDS does is it reduces your trigger weight. It reduces your trigger weight. Basically a drop-in package. One motion, you just swap out your OEM slide for this slide, and it takes your stock or trigger pull from 5.5 to right around 4 pounds. Which is something that a lot of people like. Some people like the lighter triggers. I like the ability to reduce my trigger weight because that 4-pound weight right in here, I don't have to mess with anything in the frame. I don't have to change out springs, trigger bars, any of that nonsense. I can get a reduction in trigger weight just by plugging and playing. It's not a permanent modification. If I want my trigger to go back up to stock, I can swap the slides back out. And those of us like myself, my reserve police department allows me to carry modified guns as long as they're cleared and the trigger weight isn't under 4 pounds. So this is something I could definitely carry and still be within policy for duty, which, you know, I think that's a lot of what PWS had in mind, is for those departments or that allow their officers that option. You can just plug and play, no permanent modification of the weapon, and it reduces your trigger weight. Everything in the slide is going to do that. That is the Gen 3 EDS out here today. Threw it on this stock Glock frame. Nothing done to the frame whatsoever. I don't even have an undercut, which I'm really feeling in my fingers right now, because I'm a guy who just has to have an undercut. Trigger pull is great. I do notice it. Obviously, you know, for me personally, I don't notice a huge reduction or huge difference or even noticeable difference between, like, say 3.5 and 4-pound trigger. I don't really feel the difference in those, but I do notice a difference, you know, when it gets into a pound, pound and a half, 2-pound differences. Trigger pull remains the same as far as travel. You still got the same amount of take up and you've still got the same amount of reset, but that wall is crisp, but it's not as significantly hard to overcome when compared to the standard Glock trigger, so it breaks a lot cleaner. The reset's very positive. There's nothing mushy whatsoever in the gun itself, and I think that plays a lot to all the reduction in trigger weight is occurring in the slide itself, safety plunger, and in the striker channel and everything like that. That's where it's all occurring. Nothing is going on in the frame itself, which I really like, because if I want to train on a stock trigger, if I want to practice on a stock trigger, if I want to hand this gun off to a student who prefers a stock trigger, it's easy for me to just swap the frames out and we're right back to a standard Glock. Technical specifications for the EDS finishes black DLC. There is a slight reduction in weight. very, very slight between the OEM slide and this slide, but it's so slight that you're probably just not going to notice the difference. Other than that, there's really not a whole lot that goes into it feature-wise. It's not offered with an RMR cut or anything like that. It's really just a plug-and-play swap out. Gives you the ability to retain your frame integrity, but it gives you the ability to easily just swap into a lower trigger weight, and it's something that you can get into for significantly less than what it would cost you to send your gun off and have the whole thing modified. One disclaimer though, PWS does not recommend that you use this slide with any kind of aftermarket work that's been done to the frame itself, such as a trigger job. If you changed out springs, comp springs, race springs, anything like that, anything other than OEM parts, not recommended that you use the EDS with it. Just my general impressions running this throughout the day. Again, I don't have a whole lot of time on it. I did put a significant amount of rounds on it in a short period of time I've had it. I like it a lot. For something that just really changes the geometry, or I should say that the weight of the trigger itself, it does make the gun a little bit easier to shoot, just because it's reducing some of that resistance that the gun provides back to you, that back feed that you get when you're pressing through a stock trigger. Now, I have no problem whatsoever shooting a stock Glock, but I do feel like the Glock trigger is about a pound too heavy, so this puts it right in that sweet spot for me, or right where I want the gun. I've shot 3-pound Glocks. I carried a 3.5-pound trigger Glock for a long time. And basically, I didn't see any significant advantage going that light of a trigger. I know there's some guys out there that run the gun a lot faster than I do. They love those lighter triggers because it gives them that little more edge, the ability to run the gun just a little bit faster. Me personally, I've pretty much hit my speed ball when it comes to how fast I'm ever going to be able to shoot. It's just, some fast shooting is part skill and it's part natural talent. Some people just can't get to that superstar speed. But being able to throw this on a 19 and just immediately reduce that trigger weight, and it's something that's easily reversed, I really like it a lot. Not putting the EDS through a review, just because that would be, I'm sponsored by PWS, so that would be disingenuous of me to review one of their products. I got to leave that up to other people. But I did want to put an informational out there to let guys know that this product exists, and if you're looking for an economical way to double the number of slides you have available for your gun and provide you with a drop-in trigger job that's easily reversed just by swapping your slides back out, I highly recommend the PWS EDS. It's a great system, and I hope that it will soon be available for Gen 4. And it would be nice to see an option in the near future that would allow those of you who want to mount an RMR to just go ahead and plug and play that as well. I'm Aaron Cowan with Sage Dynamics. Train accordingly.